So, are your decisions actually hitting the mark, or are you just kind of guessing? It's so easy to get lost in a sea of data. Well, today we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to build a really practical toolkit for measuring what truly matters so you can make choices driven by facts, not just feelings.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First up, we'll tackle the big challenge, how to actually make data-driven decisions. Then we'll add a super powerful framework for getting real results. After that, we'll stock our toolkit with some specific tools, learn how to really understand the numbers, and finally, we'll see how this whole shebang applies across pretty much every industry you can think of.
Every single organization, whether it's a tiny startup, a huge government agency, or a local charity, they all face the exact same question. Are we actually succeeding? And the key isn't just collecting more data. It's about measuring the right things to get a crystal clear answer.
Let's kick things off with a real-world scenario. Imagine you're running a nonprofit. You've got limited resources, but a massive mission. So how do you make sure your hard work is creating real, measurable impact? Turns out the answer is all about having a specific strategic approach. And that solution, the answer to that big challenge, is the very first and most important tool in our kit. It's a really powerful framework, and it's called results-based management.
And there it is, results-based management, or RBM for short. Now here's the absolute key insight. This is not about tracking how busy you are. It's about tracking the actual results you're producing. It's a total mindset shift, and it's the foundation for every other tool we're going to talk about today. So what exactly is RBM? Well, think of it like a strategy that builds a bridge. It creates this clear, logical link between the resources you put in, your time, your money, your effort, and the tangible results you get out the other side. It is all about making that connection obvious.
This diagram just breaks it down perfectly. Over on the left, you've got your resources. That's your inputs and activities. And on the right, you have your results. Now, these words are super important. Outputs are the immediate products of your work, like, say, 10 workshops were delivered. Outcomes are the changes that happen because of that, like 200 people learned a new skill. And then impact, that's the big picture, long-term change you were hoping for. RBM is the framework that connects all those dots.
And this is just a brilliant example of RBM in the real world. A Canadian agency didn't just have a vague goal to improve water safety. No way. They set a concrete, measurable target to slash the number of waterborne illnesses from over 3,400 all the way down to under 500. Now that is a measurable result you can track and aim for. All right, so you've got your RBM framework set up, but now you need the instruments on your dashboard to see if you're actually on track. So let's move on and see what those tools look like.
We're going to add 3 really essential measurement tools to our kit. First, we've got key performance indicators, or KPIs, which you often see on dashboards. Second, the balanced scorecard. And third, something called the Net Promoter Score, or NPS.
A KPI dashboard is literally like the dashboard in your car. It gives you a quick, visual snapshot of all your most important metrics: your speed, your fuel, your engine light. It lets you know if you're hitting your goals with just a single glance. Now, the balanced scorecard gives you a much broader perspective. Its real power is that it stops you from falling into that classic trap of looking only at the financial numbers. That can lead to some really short-sighted decisions. Instead, it forces you to take a holistic view by measuring 4 key areas: your financial health, sure, but also what your customers think, how well your operations are running, and your team's ability to keep learning and innovating.
And then we've got the Net Promoter Score, and this one is just beautiful in its simplicity. You ask one single question, the ultimate question, about whether someone would recommend you. Then you group the answers into your fans, the neutrals, and your critics. And then you do this super simple calculation. The result is one powerful number that gives you an instant pulse on your customer loyalty.
Okay, so we've collected all this data. But raw numbers, they can be really misleading, right? To find the real story that's hidden inside our data, we need to add a couple of special decoder rings to our toolkit. So let's figure out how to properly understand the scores we're getting.
All right, let's try this out. We're looking at the price of a Big Mac over a pretty long time. How can we express that 2014 price in a way that directly compares it back to 1968? This is a perfect use for a price index. What do you think? What's the index number?
The answer is 300. And the calculation is really straightforward. You just take the current price, divide it by the base price from back in the day, and multiply by 100. That gives you an index of 300, which tells you that the price is now 300% of what it was, or, put simply, 3 times higher. It's just a really clean way to track change over time. Okay, time for a tougher one. Let's say you score a 70 on an exam. The class average, the mean, was a 50, so you know you did better than average. But how much better? How do you really stack up against everyone else who took that test? The secret here is a tool called the Z-score. You can think of it as a universal translator for data. It tells you exactly how far away any single data point is from the average in a standardized unit. So for your score, you take your 70, you subtract the average of 50, and you divide by the standard deviation of 10. That gives you a Z-score of exactly 2. So what does a Z-score of 2 actually mean? Well, if you look at this classic bell curve, the average score of 50 is right there in the middle, at 0. Your score of 70, with its Z-score of 2, is way over here, 2 full standard deviations to the right. You can just visually see you're way ahead of the pack. And here's the payoff. See that tiny little sliver of the curve to the right of your score? That little area represents every single person who did better than you. And that area is only about 2.5% of the total. So that Z-score tells you that you performed in the top 2.5% of the entire class. You absolutely crushed it. So we've built this incredibly powerful toolkit. Now let's just take a quick look at how these exact same tools are being used all over the place, shaping massive decisions in business, government, and the nonprofit world. This table gives a really nice overview. You can see businesses are obsessed with things like NPS and financial KPIs. Governments often use cost-benefit analysis, and nonprofits are really focused on the cost-effectiveness of their work. But look at the bottom. The one tool that cuts across every single sector is benchmarking. No matter what you do, comparing your performance to others is a universal key to figuring out if you're succeeding. And the impact of these tools is it's everywhere. It's in the algorithm that suggests what you should watch next on Netflix. It's helping Amazon predict what you're going to buy before you do. And like we saw with that Canadian health example, it's being used to tackle enormous global challenges. Data-driven decision-making is, without a doubt, fundamentally shaping our world. So there you have it. You now have the framework, the instruments, and the know-how to decode the results. The toolkit is officially yours. So the only question left is this. What's the very first result you want to measure and truly understand in your world?